Subscribe because it's free.
The Thalkari were once a mighty race, feared and respected across the stars. Their insectoid warriors had built an empire through strength and strategy, but in the end, none of it mattered. The Zalari Empire had decided they were unworthy. The purge was swift. The Thalkari homeworld burned. Its cities turned to glass under orbital bombardment. Their colonies were wiped from existence. Their fleets shattered. What remained of their people now drifted through the void, a scattered, broken fleet of refugees with nowhere to call home. They had begged, pleaded, swallowed their pride, and sent messages to every major power in the galaxy. Please, shelter us. We will serve, we will adapt, just let us live. The responses were all the same. No, not because the other species lacked compassion, but because they feared the Zalari more than they valued morality. Helping the Thalkari meant risking annihilation themselves. Some sent condolences, some ignored them entirely, and others turned them away at gunpoint. Their fleet dwindled. Some ships failed from lack of maintenance. Others fell to Zalari patrols, merciless hunters ensuring no survivors remained. Rations ran low. Mothers watched their children starve. Warriors who had once led legions now scavenged for scraps. They were dying. But then, whispers reached them, a species unlike any other. Strange, unpredictable, chaotic. Humanity. They were a young race, barely scratching the surface of galactic affairs. But they had a reputation for defiance. Other species feared humans, not because they were the strongest, but because they were the most stubborn. They defied the natural order of the galaxy, refusing to accept the rule of the greater empires. They broke treaties, challenged long-standing hierarchies, and fought wars they had no right winning. Yet somehow, they survived. The Thalkari Council convened for what could be their final decision. The elders, once rulers of proud species, now debated a desperate gamble. The humans may not even respond, one said bitterly. If they don't, we die, another replied. But if they do, perhaps we live. There was no alternative. They had nothing left to lose. A distress signal was sent. The journey to human space was long and treacherous. The Zalari had eyes everywhere, and they hated loose ends. Thalkari ships had to navigate through pirate-infested voids, hostile territories, and uncharted regions just to reach the outskirts of Sol. Every hour was a battle for survival. By the time they arrived, their fleet was barely holding together. Shattered hulls, failing life support, and dwindling supplies. This was the end. If the humans refused them, there was nowhere left to go. Then Earth answered. The response came faster than expected. A message, direct and unmistakable, echoed to the battered ships of the Thalkari fleet. Unidentified vessels, you have entered human space. State your purpose. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the Thalkari leader, a once great general reduced to the role of a desperate envoy, spoke. We seek sanctuary. There was no immediate reply. The humans were considering, calculating. The Thalkari knew what they saw. Failing engines, torn hulls, thousands of starving refugees packed into overcrowded ships. A defeated people. Then, another message. Hold position. Do not advance further. A fleet appeared from the darkness of space. Sleek, angular human warships, their weapons locked on the broken vessels of the Thalkari. No warning shots, no aggression, just an unmistakable display of power. The Thalkari braced for rejection. They had seen this before. The cold, logical refusal of the galaxy's rulers. But then, something unexpected. A single human ship detached from a formation, not a warship, but a diplomatic vessel. It moved toward them, slow and deliberate. Inside, a human stepped forward, a representative of Earth, flanked by soldiers in black armor. His voice was calm but firm. You understand what you're asking of us? The Thalkari leader met his gaze. We do. The Zalari will not accept this. We know. The humans studied them for a long moment. The air in the chamber was thick with unspoken words. Then, the human reached out a hand, then welcomed the soul. The Thalkari had expected resistance, bureaucracy, hesitation. Instead, they were granted a world, Titan, one of Saturn's moons. Not a paradise, not a lush sanctuary, but a chance, a place to rebuild. It was more than anyone else had offered, but the decision was not without consequences. Word spread fast. Across the galaxy, governments reacted with disbelief. The Zolari's response was immediate and absolute. Return the Thalkari to us, or be considered enemies of the Empire. Humanity's reply was just as swift. No. The Zolari sent a second message, a final warning. You do not understand what you've done. But humanity did, and they did not care. The galaxy held its breath. The Zolari had made their position clear. Surrender the Thalkari or face annihilation. There was no room for negotiation, no diplomatic loopholes. The Thalkari were meant to be erased from existence, and humanity had interfered. The first strike wasn't military. It was economic. The Zolari used their influence to enforce a trade blockade. Human merchants were blacklisted from major galactic markets. Their ships denied fuel, docking rights, and supplies. Allies were pressured to cut ties. Governments were warned. Aiding Earth meant suffering Earth's fate. Other species complied. The Zolari were the dominant power. After all, no one would risk their own survival over a single, reckless species. But humanity did not bend. Unlike other civilizations, humans were used to scarcity. They had survived wars, disasters, and self-inflicted crises long before reaching the stars. When trade routes closed, they adapted. Black markets flourished. Independent colonies stepped up. Resource extraction from the asteroid belt increased. The blockade failed. Frustrated, the Zolari escalated. A fleet of warships entered the Sol system, not an invasion force, but a demonstration, a reminder of their superiority. They took position at the system's edge, weapons charged but not firing. A transmission followed. One last chance. Hand over the refugees. Earth's response came in a single message. Come and take them. That was all it took. The Zolari, enraged, changed tactics. If they couldn't force Earth's hand, they would make an example of them. Titan was chosen as a target. Not Earth itself, not yet, but the Thalkari's new home. A message to both humanity and the rest of the galaxy. Their fleet moved swiftly, slipping past human defenses, descending upon the moon. Orbital bombardments began. The skies burned as fire rained down. But the Thalkari were no longer alone. Human ships scrambled to respond. The Battle of Titan had begun. Outnumbered and outgunned, humanity should have crumbled. The Zolari were superior in every measurable way. Technology, firepower, experience. But they had made a fatal mistake. They had underestimated what humanity was willing to do. The Zolari came with overwhelming force. They expected a swift and decisive victory. They were wrong. From the moment the first Zolari warships entered Titan's orbit, humanity fought differently. They didn't engage in predictable formations or traditional battle doctrine. Instead, they turned the fight into chaos. Human vessels, smaller and less advanced, used speed and misdirection. They lured Zolari warships into asteroid fields, detonated pre-planted charges, and even crashed unmanned ships into enemy formations, disrupting their movements. Then came the cyber warfare. Humanity's hackers infiltrated the Zolari fleet systems, scrambling targeting sensors, overriding shields, and turning ships against one another. Zolari commanders found themselves cut off from their own fleets, their encrypted channels failing. But it wasn't just humans fighting. For the first time since their exile, the Thalkari stood beside an ally. They were no longer just refugees. Inspired by humanity's defiance, they took up arms. They fought not for survival, but for vengeance. On the surface of Titan, ground battles erupted. Zolari drop troops, expecting an easy massacre, were met with something else entirely. Thalkari warriors, once scattered and broken, fought with a fury they had long suppressed. And beside them, human soldiers, outnumbered but unyielding. The Zolari hadn't come for a battle. They had come for extermination. Instead, they found war, a war they were losing. Then came the turning point. A single human warship, the UNS Requiem, executed a maneuver no Zolari would ever consider, a direct collision course with the Zolari flagship. It should have been suicide, and yet At the last second, the humans did something impossible. They ejected the entire bridge crew in escape pods. Minutes before impact, the Requiem, on autopilot, rammed directly into Zalari command vessel, igniting its reactor core. The explosion ripped through the fleet. Zalari ships, already in disarray, panicked. Their command structure was broken, their forces fragmented. A retreat order was issued. The great Zalari fleet, the enforcers of the galaxy's order, fled. The impossible had happened. Humanity had stood against an empire and won. The Thalkari, once doomed to extinction, now had a future, and they had chosen their new home, their new allies, their new family. The galaxy took notice. Other species, once silent, began whispering. If humans could defy the Zalari and survive, what else were they capable of? And humanity? They sent a final message, broadcast to the entire galaxy. We do not seek war, but if you come for our own, we will fight, and we will win. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer just another species. They were a force,